Hello everybody and welcome back to this tutorial, and now let's cover the Whatweb tool, which will help us identify as many things as we can about a certain website. Now in this video we're also going to cover the DIRB tool, which allows us to actually brute force the website with different directories. So we're going to need some type of a password list, or directory list should I say, that we're going to use in order to find hidden directories. Okay, but first of all, let's start with the Whatweb tool. So open up your terminal. In order to actually run the help menu, you can simply just type Whatweb, or you can type Whatweb -- help. It doesn't even matter, it will give you the same output. Okay, so up here, let me just go. As you can see, there is a bunch of options for this actual tool. Now we are only going to cover the most basic things for this tool, and if you want, then you can actually try different options, and also you can experiment with some of these things, but that is not the main purpose of this video. The main purpose is to see what this tool will give us as a result. So its goal, basically the goal of this tool, is to answer the question, what is that website? It recognizes web technologies, including content management systems, static analytic packages, JavaScript libraries, web servers, and embedded devices. But we are going to cover basics of this tool by simply using verbose option on a target website. Now, it is not really that illegal to use this, but I would still advise you to actually scan the target that you own, or the target that you have permission to scan, and not some website that you do not have permission to scan on or to attack. So what we're going to do is we're going to scan our OS virtual machine that we actually downloaded in the previous video. As we can see, I have it turned on. Its IP address is the same as in the previous video, so 192.168.1.8. And right now we're going to use the verbose option in order to perform our scan. So you can see a bunch of these different options, and here is our option, verbose. Verbose output includes plugin descriptions used twice for debugging. Okay, so we're going to simply just type right here, Whatweb -v, and then 192.168.1.8. Press here enter, and now we're going to wait for this scan to finish. As we can see, it didn't take too long at all. It already gave us the output that we need, and if we scroll all the way up, we can see a bunch of different informations for these servers. We can see this is the Whatweb report for this server right here, which is our OS virtual machine. The status is 200 OK, which means that it is able to actually load the page and that the page is online and running. The title is OWASP Broken Web Applications, IP address, country right here, summary. So the summary is basically the things that it is running. So we can see jQuery, HTTP server, Apache, we can see OpenSSL, Perl, script, JavaScript, Perl, email, PHP, HTML5. So we can see the version of the Python as well, passenger, and the version of Apache 2 as well. So for example, if you wanted to, you could now use the search exploit, which we actually covered in the beginning of this course. So search exploit, and then you can simply just type Apache and see what type of exploits you have for specific Apache 2 versions. As we can see, the version of this Apache is 2.2.14. that are above 2.2.14 should actually be able to execute on the OS virtual machine. So all of this that are newer version, the 2.2.14, are the exploits that came after the version of the Apache 2 that we have on our OS. Therefore, it is a great possibility that our OS virtual machine is vulnerable to all of those attacks. As we can see, these are the detected plugins. We have Apache, and now a little bit more about the Apache, as well as the version, the module, the Google Docs, and the website. Email, so we have the email list, HTML5, HTML version 5, detected by the doc type declaration. It detected that the actual OWASP is running HTML5, HTTP server, jQuery, OpenSSL, PHP, passenger, Perl, Python, script, HTTP headers as well are here. So we can see this is the typical HTTP header for this target, date server. So we get the same version as in the actual above output, and this tool allows us to discover different technologies that the server is running, and therefore now we can plan our future attack based on these output right here. As we can see, for example, we can plan attack on the Apache 2 web server because we discovered that this version is vulnerable to a bunch of the attacks, for example. So this tool is really useful, And now we're going to cover the different tool, which is actually more type of the attack tool. So this is some kind of a scanning tool. And the DIRB tool is a tool that will allow us to discover hidden directories on the target website. So it already comes pre-installed in Kali Linux. As we can see, if I just type DIRB, we will get the help menu right here. Basically, DIRB brute forces the website with directories. If it gets the status code of 200 with a specific directory, so it will go through a directory list that we're going to specify in the command. And the directory list is simply just a txt file containing a bunch of different extensions for the actual directory. And it will then add those extensions to this original link of the website that we're attacking. And if it gets the status code of 200, it will say that the page exists because it gave us the code of 200. That means that the page is online and running. But if it gets, for example, the 404 error, it means that the page does not exist. Okay, so right now we have already some of the examples of how we can actually use this command. So what we're going to do, what happens if we simply just type dirb 192.168. Oops, let me just add the full link. So http 192.168.1.8. It will probably give us an error. Oh no, it already has the actual file that it uses. As we can see, by default, it specifies the actual file that comes already in Kali Linux that is stored at this location, which is user share dirb word lists and then command.txt. The command.txt file is a txt file that actually has a bunch of random directory names that could possibly be in our server as well. And here is the output for those directories. As we can see, all of these that have code 200 are the ones that we can actually find in the OS virtual machine. So let's try a random one. For example, we can see that this actual tool by default enters all of the directories on the specific website. As we can see, we only specify the IP address, so the HTTP // IP address, and then it by default goes to all of these directories and search for furthermore directories. Here we have a WordPress directory, and it managed to find some of these sites. As we can see, this one, for example, let's copy it, or let's just remember it because we can copy it. So /WordPress/VP-RSS. So let's go right here, WordPress/VP-RSS. Press here enter, and we can see that we did discover some file that our tool said it exists. We can actually visit all of these pages that our tool outputs as a status code of 200. Here is how it looks if we actually type something that doesn't exist. So let's press here enter. It will say not found. We get the 404 error, and that is how this page discovers whether some type of page exists or not. So all of these right here that got code 200 do exist, and maybe they could host something potentially interesting for us, such as some information or possibly even passwords that we can actually find just by simply brute forcing directories. Basically, we're not going to wait for this to finish. That would be about it for this tutorial. We covered two different tools, Whatweb and DIRB. And in the next tutorial, we're going to cover a famous tool, which is called Hydra, which allows us to brute force login any type of page using some a little bit harsh syntax, but we're going to cover that as well. So hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope I will see you in the next one. Bye.